The following production is presented by League Info Site and the Credit Union Broadcast Experience, QTV.
Hello, thank you for joining me at the CU Compliance Connection. The last half of 2014 has been busy on the regulatory front with the actions of the CFPB and the NCUA. This segment will review the National Credit Union Administration's amendment to the requirements to the ownership of fixed assets. The amendment was finalized on September 14th, 2013, and took effect on November 18th. The NCUA Board amended the regulation governing federal credit union ownership of fixed assets to help federal credit unions better understand and comply with the requirements. The final rule does not make any substantive changes to previous regulatory requirements. Rather, the amendments only clarify the regulation by improving its organization, structure, and ease of use. The Federal Credit Union Act authorizes a federal credit union to purchase, hold, and dispose of property necessary or incidental to its operations. The NCUA's Fixed Assets Rule interprets and implements this provision of the Federal Credit Union Act. In general, a federal credit union may only invest in property it intends to use to transact credit union business or in property that supports the credit union's internal operations or serves its members. For the purpose of the rule, fixed assets include premises, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, including any office, branch office, sub-office, service center, parking lots, facilities, real estate where the federal credit union will transact business. It also includes office furnishings, office machines, computer hardware and software, automated terminals, and heating and cooling equipment. The Fixed Assets Rule, number 1, limits a federal credit union's investment in fixed assets. Number 2, establishes occupancy, planning, and disposal requirements for acquired and abandoned premises. And finally, prohibits certain transactions. The significant amendments to the rule are clarifications to the meaning of unimproved land or unimproved real property, and further defines partially occupied. Additionally, the process for obtaining waivers is further clarified for credit unions. Unimproved land or unimproved real property now means raw land or land without development, significant buildings, structures, or site preparation, land that has never had improvements, land that was improved at one time but has functionally reverted to its unimproved state, and finally, land that has been improved but the improvements serve no purpose for the federal credit union's planned use of the property. The amended rule also addresses the meaning of partially occupy, which now states that the credit union must occupy the property on a full-time basis or a portion of the premises that is consistent with the federal credit union's usage plan for the premises. Significant enough that the federal credit union is deriving practical utility from that occupied portion relative to the scope of the usage plan, and it's sufficient to show that the federal credit union will fully occupy the premises within a reasonable amount of time. Credit unions can ask the NCUA for a waiver from some of the requirements of the Fixed Assets Rule. To seek a waiver, a federal credit union must submit a written request to its regional office. The request must describe the proposed investment and fully explain why the federal credit union needs the waiver. The regional director will inform the federal credit union in writing that the request was received and any additional documentation that's needed. And then within 45 days of receipt of the federal credit union's waiver request and all necessary documentation, whichever is later, the regional director will provide the federal credit union with a written response, either approving or disapproving the request. The regional director's decision will be based on the safety and soundness considerations and a determination as to whether a conflict of interest exists. For additional information on the new requirements for fixed assets, visit the NCUA's website at ncua.gov. Thank you for joining me here at the CU Compliance Connection by InfoSight, only on Cube TV.
Thanks for watching the #1 compliance program for the credit union community. Stay tuned.